Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the Online Series 8 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. I'm playing a third episode with the Yveltal team because I feel like I really have not done this team justice. We've also run into 4 Zacian teams, basically, consecutively with this team, which obviously Zacian's common, but I feel like I just haven't played it super well in the last 2 episodes, and 2, I think this team has a lot more potential, so wanted to feature for one more episode. So I'm not going to ramble too long. Let's talk about team preview first, and then we can get into other things. But first game of the day, and we're up against P2, Incin, Calyrex-I, Torkoal, Blastoise, and Rillaboom. Okay, so it's definitely not terrible for Yveltal, but obviously I have to worry about a lot of Trick Room components. But I think this is where Amnesia plus the Iron Defense Registeel can thrive. It's just funny because I really messed up in that game yesterday, game 3, when I didn't bring Registeel, and it was going to be very good. It's just obviously the Torkoal that concerns me a little bit. If you're my opponent, you're probably just going to lead Fake Out, and you have 3 Fake Out users in Incin, Rillaboom, and Blastoise. So I think I'm just going to go with the Registeel. And the Yveltal. I like that because Yveltal can potentially foul play should my opponent switch out into Calyrex Ice. Arcanine in the back, very valuable, and then I think it's going to be Feeny as the last one. So, as I mentioned in yesterday's episode, having some technical issues, but I wanted to keep up the daily uploads still, so that's why I don't have a webcam, and I think it should be fixed, within the next couple of days, but I apologize for that, and I appreciate those that are still coming out and watching the videos. So, yeah, I know it's definitely not my preferred choice. I'm recording this right after reading some of the early comments from yesterday's video, and I know that it's a lot easier to follow the videos when you guys can, see what I'm saying. So, yeah. But, this way at least I can get some battles out, and you guys can watch some cool games in the meanwhile. So, thanks as always for watching. Question of the day, I want to know what your favorite childhood dish is. For me, my grandparents and parents, you cook this popular Chinese dish. It's just eggs and tomatoes over rice, and it's really, really tasty. So that would kind of be my go-to. So let me know your answers in the comment section below. Okay, they're Trace, and it's Blastoise. I'm expecting Fake Out here into Registeel. I can definitely get a Snarl off. I'm thinking going to Feeny here and Snarl. Actually, even if you Fake Out, I don't care, right? Registeel's in a really good spot. And I'm going to Amnesia because I want to set myself up for the Torkoal in the back. So I'm going to Amnesia and Snarl. I don't really care about Eerie Impulse here. Ooh, it's Max. Well, it could be Max Porygon. But it looks like it is going to be the Max Blastoise. Okay. That is very interesting. Now, we get a Snarl off, which is good, but they're going to get a Cannonade out. I wouldn't be surprised if they were Life Orbed here. I like that a lot. I think that's a really cool play. Okay, so we'll get Snarl. No Fake Out at least, but Amnesia's not going to help very much if you're cannonading into Registeel, which is what I suspect my opponent's going for. So the Feeny switch I wanted to make would have been fantastic here, but it's okay. Feeny in the back is actually very good in the late game. That actually did very little damage to us. So I'll take it. I'll take it. We get Amnesia off, so we'll take even less damage from Blastoise. Registeel is a very good answer against Porygon, too. And they're actually going to set up the Trick Room. Okay. So that's not actually terrible for us, because, our Registeel obviously outspeeds under Trick Room. The downside, though, is that Cannonade damage is a lot, right? If I stay in with 4 turns of Registeel, that's just 4 ticks of Cannonade. And Yveltal is obviously going to take a fair amount here, too. I think protecting here is fine, and switching out into Feeny is fine. We're playing very defensively, but that's okay. I don't want Yveltal to take too much damage. Getting an early Snarl on turn 1 is definitely somewhat valuable. Can't help but wonder if I should have Body Press there. I guess my one fear here is that Porygon 2 can switch out, but the upside is now they can't Dynamax Calyrex Ice, right? So, I honestly think in playing with this team, I just haven't utilized Yveltal and Registeel to their maximum potential. Yeah, it is a switch. I could have Foul Play Body Press that slot. I think Calyrex is coming in. That's a little frustrating for me. But if I stayed in and they just Ice Beam, Max Hailstorm into Yveltal, it's not. Oh, I guess they are. They do have the special attack drops on both, and we'd probably survive with the Assault Vest. I feel okay with this switch. It's not the end of the world, right? But I think if we KO Calyrex Ice there, we're in a really good position because that's probably their strongest Pokemon in terms of pure offense in this matchup. Okay. So I just wanted to play defensively here because basically right now we have the Dynamax advantage relative to our opponent, right? They're going to Cannonade, but regardless of who gets hit here, it's totally fine. And they're going to try to get the Feeny, but that's okay. Okay. So I can get an Iron Defense off here. Honestly, like Calm Mining with Tapu Fini in this position. And I think I'll go just for a Body Press here into... Yeah, Body Press and Calm Mind. Because I think late game Yveltal with Fini and Arcanine is fine. Okay, they go for Glacial Lance, which makes sense. They're basically covering for a Fire-type switch in there, but that works for me. Because I don't take that much damage. Although if you Cannonade into Registeel, I'm probably still going to faint here. But we'll get some good chip damage here with the Body Press. Yep, not bad. I just don't know who to Dynamax right now. Cannonade's going to come out. I would target the Registeel slot because I protected last turn, so you can double up onto that slot. But this thing's a tank. After Amnesia, it actually survives that, which is really, really impressive. And the good thing about having Fini out on the field right now is I'm not taking any Cannonade residual from Blastoise, which is honestly a very big deal because we're playing quite defensively right now. Unfortunately, we still faint from Cannonade, but that's okay. I don't have Protect. That's a really big issue, actually, I think. But I can bring on Arcanine. You know, that gets an Intimidate off. And then I think I'm going to switch Arcanine out into Yveltal. Actually, I just really don't know if that's worth it, to be honest. But if they have Water Spout, that's really bad. If I'm my opponent, like, you could Glacial Lance Water Spout here. That's the main problem, right? There's still 2 turns of Trick Room left as well. I like Flamethrower here and go for another Calm Mind. Because I think the way we approach this game is max... okay, they go for high horsepower onto Fini, which we should survive with the berry. Okay. Although... Okay, nice. That's actually really good for us. So we survive with both. Oh, I forgot about Glastier's ability canceling, but that's okay. Flamethrower is probably better. Or sorry, Muddy Water is probably better here. But I think what I can do this next turn is just protect Fini. And then just play towards Yveltal plus the Fini, right? Yeah, so Arcanine... Not having our berries activating here is definitely a little unfortunate, but it's the last turn of Trick Room. So we're going to go down 4-2 in this game, but I'm honestly okay with that. If you're on my opponent, I'm going for Glacial Lance in this position. So we go down. It feels like 4-1 essentially, but the thing is I can Max Darkness with Yveltal and then Muddy Water as well. Max Darkness gets that special defense drop. What's going to be really a big question here is, does Calyrex-I have Protect? Also, does Max Darkness... Oh, they switch out Blastoise. Okay, you know what? I'm okay with that. Into P2. They Trace Intimidate. Just whatever. They played this really well, though, because I think Registeel is really good against my opponent's team, and I definitely wasn't expecting just Blastoise to max immediately on the get-go on turn 1. And I think that was a really good play for my opponent. Okay, yep, there's Glacial Lance. We have to sacrifice Arcanine here. Unfortunately, I don't even think +2 Fini Max Geyser is not going to KO Porygon. So the big question this next... I think we go for Max Darkness into Muddy Water. But the problem is I suspect this is Eerie Impulse Porygon, and with Registeel out of the way, and with me not getting a Body Press at any point against that Porygon, it's not good. So... problem here is that I didn't utilize Registeel as well as I could have, and Blastoise was a big problem for us, basically, right? Now, I could read into Glacier switching out. What I could do is Max Darkness here and Moonblast, but if you're my opponent, I think you just go for a... I think I'm going to Max Darkness Muddy Water. I don't know, maybe Max Darkness into... You'd be a -1 Spadef, I'd be a +2 special attack. Muddy Water should KO Glastrier with that. Obviously, we risk missing right now, but I think we kind of have to make some big plays. Calyrex-I having on Nerve obviously deters us a little bit. But I think Yveltal plus Fini could definitely pull this off. If we actually knock out Porygon, like I think Porygon's going to hang on with 15 to 20%. That's my guess. It's just so bulky. But maybe if it doesn't have any special defense investment, we can actually pick up a KO. So let's see. Residual damage, like G-Max residual damage, is probably one of the best ways to deal with Registeel because you outpace how much Registeel heals, right? Okay, yeah, they don't protect Glastrier, or sorry, Calyrex. We should get a KO onto that. Muddy Water might actually KO. If it KOs, I think we definitely win the game, so let's see. But I'm not 100% sure. The special defense drop here is huge. We're going to connect with Muddy Water. That's fantastic. +2 special attack Tapu Fini. Can we knock out Porygon? Oh, we do. That's fantastic. Okay, fantastic, fantastic. Because that's big for so many reasons, right? Wait. Okay, Porygon fainted, right? It's just my berry activates first. Please tell me it fainted. That's how it works, right? Okay, good. Sweet. So this is why like late game Yveltal can be an absolute beast. So my opponent was, I think they had to max Blastoise. If they didn't max Blastoise, they kind of insta-lose to Registeel. So we didn't utilize Registeel very well, but the thing is that it forced my opponent into maxing, and that actually just won us the game more or less, right? Because you can't beat Yveltal at this point. So this is, like, Yveltal thrives so much in matchups where you're going up against special attackers that just can't do that much damage to you. It's just like, yeah, we ran into, like, 4 Zacians in a row. And so, like, you have to play a little bit differently in those matchups. But that's why I wanted to play a third episode to kind of show you, like, the difference, right? So in this position, I think it's fine to just go for a max Darkness. Let's target the Torkoal, because Blastoise shouldn't really be a threat. Let's protect the Feeny, because we don't want to get hit by a Fake Out plus Solar Beam. Yeah. And at this point, like, you just can't KO the Yveltal. Your best bet is maybe a Yawn, or, yeah, I think they have to hope for me to throw. And that's why it's always good to protect the Feeny there. Max Darkness isn't going to KO, but it should do a lot, right? Yeah, perfect. Did I go for the best Max Darkness there, actually? I don't know. With Yveltal, you always have to make sure, because there's 3 different Max Darknesses, that you're going for the best one. And they go for Eruption. Okay, great. Yep. So with the Salt Vest and them at 50%, we're barely going to take any damage. Perfect. We know we're faster already here. There's no reason to risk a miss, and they're also at -1 special defense. So what we can do here is just go for Max Airstream. That's going to KO the Torkoal, and Moonblast to KO the Blastoise. So even though my opponent had a really early lead, right, they were up 4-2 and my Tapu Fini was at, like, what, 10 HP? It didn't matter because I knew that if I could KO Calyrex, then we'd be good. I just wasn't confident, to be honest, in the Max Darkness plus Muddy Water KOing Porygon. We were also lucky because obviously with Muddy Water endgames you can miss those Muddy Waters, but it ended up working out for us here, which was good. But I always obviously get very nervous with Muddy Water, and the accuracy isn't fantastic, especially because we did need to hit both of those. I think if we miss either, we'd probably lose the game. Especially because I think it's going to be Eerie Impulse on that Porygon. If your Porygon can Eerie Impulse either of my Pokemon, considering they're so specially oriented, we're probably just done for there. So, yeah. But glad to show you what what Yveltal could do. I think one of the main things to note is to just play a little bit more aggressively with the Registeel. Like, the main mistake that I learned from Game 3 of yesterday's episode was not utilizing or leading Registeel. Because if I had just led Registeel, you can often, if your opponent leads passively, punish them so heavily. So this is a Zamazenta team, which is interesting. Yveltal's not terrible, but it definitely doesn't want to go up. Well, actually, against Zamazenta specifically, it's fine. I'd much rather see that than Zacian. But my opponent also has Landorus, Thundurus, and Rillaboom, so those are all obviously things to watch out for. All of our Pokemon are good here, and like as I always say, that's like both good and stressful. Thundurus is really tricky. I think it's probably one of the tougher Pokemon to go up against, and my typical strategy is to just go with the Rillaboom plus Landorus, but if they lead Incin plus Thundurus, that's not good for us. It's actually a very good lead for them. But maybe this is where we actually can just lead Registeel immediately. Registeel plus Feeny would be really interesting, because what I can do is just double protect on the first turn, but if I'm my opponent, actually, you could just fake out Max Lightning, or sorry, fake out Max Knuckle, and then overwhelm me with offense, which wouldn't be good. So I'm actually going to try Rillaboom plus Registeel and Yveltal plus Landorus in the back. I think that makes some sense. So the idea here is I'm putting on pressure, I can protect Rillaboom, and I want to use Registeel defensively to stall out my opponent's Dynamax. I don't think I'm going to, like with Registeel, of course, sometimes you can just get these Iron Defense offs and just body press everything and win the game off that. I don't think this is a game for that. But it's okay, because I'm using it basically to deal with the Thundurus early. They went with Zamazenta plus Thundurus. Honestly, Rillaboom plus Landorus would have crushed it here, but I think okay with this. It's not the end of the world. This might seem a little bit weird, but I kind of like Protect. Well, now I'm frustrated in bringing Landorus, but I think Incin plus Thundurus was such a strong lead that I had to cover for that option. I was going to say I want to protect an Electro Web here. And you're saying, well, that's going to give them a Defiant boost, but it's fine because I can keep lowering their speed, and Defiant boosts aren't that bad when I have Landorus to outspeed and max Rockfall into Thundurus. So I'm going to go with that approach. Okay, they switch out Zamazenta into Landorus. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm okay with that, though, because the thing is, I get a speed drop onto your Thundurus. The only question here is whether or not they, like, max Airstream. But if I can outpace them with Electro Webs... Oh, you know what's interesting, though? If you Airstream, your Landorus outspeeds my Gieleki next turn. So Airstream should be their play. But if I let Gieleki plus Landorus, they would have switched in Zamazenta into their Landorus, presumably, right? So, yeah. I do have Sucker Punch on that Yveltal, which may prove to be valuable. Iron Defense could have been better there, but I was definitely a little bit nervous about Zamazenta's attacks. Okay. That looks like a Assault Vest, if I had to guess. Okay, we confirmed they're Defiant. Yep. Let's see if they Airstream. That'd be a great play. Okay, they did go for Knuckle, so honestly, I'm pretty happy to see that. I suppose they can just go for Airstream next turn, though. And then your Landorus outspeeds me. But actually, Landorus outspeeding me doesn't matter. As long as I outpace Thundurus, that's what I need right now. If I'm my opponent here, what am I going for? Max Airstream onto Gieleki and maybe an Earthquake. But I think I just dropped Thundurus' speed to -2, so even if you Airstream, my Landorus can just Rockfall. Now, this Thundurus is probably going to get to +6, but like I think, pretty sure it's Assault Vested here. I can still go for Iron Defense, but I don't know if there's really that much value for that. We just need the safe switch in right now. I'm fine going for Body Press and Electro Web in case they're Super Bowl. I don't know, really get much off that, I think. Okay. You know what? I'm fine with Iron Defense and Electro Web. I want ideally we feint with one of these two Pokemon next turn so that I get a free switch in into the Landorus so that I can just come in and max Rockfall into their Thundurus. Because I'm pretty sure they're not going to have Protect because, like I said, that looks like Assault Vest to me. Okay, they Earthquake. Great. I just need you to KO one of the two Pokemon right now. Oh, they're going to double KO. Is that a problem? No, it's fine. And the reason why it's fine is because I get Landorus plus Yveltal in. Life Orb. Okay, yeah, that explains how it KO'd. And they Airstream, which is fine. Because now this is what I was trying to set up for, right? I guess the only problem is that my Yveltal can't Protect, and they still have the Zamazenta in the back. So, definitely a little bit of a bummer, because we could have gone Landorus plus Gieleki. But I'm not sure that would have necessarily worked out incredibly either way, because you could just switch out. So, maybe Arcanine is something I should be considering, just for Will-O-Wisp. But I'm not going to burn them if, yeah, I don't know if that actually works out that well. Oh, actually, you know what we can do here? We can max Airstream into their Landorus so that we can outpace them and Foul Play into Thundurus. Because this Thundurus is at max attack at this point. So Foul Play should definitely KO from that range. And they're at -1 speed. Like, this Landorus should switch out, right? Maybe they just Rock Slide. But I like max Airstream here because I would switch out to get an Intimidate off and Foul Play. And even if you stay in, that's fine. I just need to avoid being flinched here. If you stay in, that's actually great because it means you're not going to intimidate my Landorus further. And they're going to stay in. Okay, that works for me. That works with me. This will be a close finish. Life Orb is going to do a lot. But that's okay. As long as we don't get flinched, I think it's fine. Flinch would probably end the game right here, though. But we'll outpace Thundurus. They get Rock Slide off. That actually doesn't do that much. It's fine. You just need to avoid the flinch. Okay. No flinch. Yeah, that one-shots. Foul Play gets the KO. That was a crit, but I don't think that mattered. Can we beat Zamazenta? Well, because they didn't get a Intimidate off, yes. I think that's... Like, we can just Quake into Zamazenta. This might actually just KO. Wow, nice. I mean, both... Double crit. I doubt that mattered, though. I don't think either of the crits mattered, right? Like, they're Life Orb. Or, sorry, they were at +6 attack with Thundurus, and then here I'm Life Orb against... And I'm not intimidated. And to be honest, I actually wouldn't mind, Landorus staying on the field there. But now we have +1 speed with both, and we have we still have Dynamax on Landorus. So that's obviously very good. And it's Urshifu plus Zamazenta. Zamazenta can obviously go for Bash, but I think here we can probably just Max Quake and Oblivion Wing, right? Seems pretty safe to me. The only question here is maybe we want to consider doubling up, but you could protect Zamazenta. Zamazenta doesn't really carry protect that frequently though. Does Zamazenta one-shot Yveltal? That's the only question, because I don't think Quake will KO here. You could Sucker Punch with Urshifu. I do think Urshifu protecting here is pretty likely. But I don't want to take a close combat into Yveltal, so I think I'll just play it safe here. Ooh, they went for Sucker Punch. That's not going to KO, right? No way. Okay. Yeah, that should be game over. You can see, though, how this team can go down so much and come back. Like, we were down 4-2 both last game and this game, and if you can conserve your Dynamax, you can just really overwhelm your opponent. And this is why Yveltal can be so good, right? We just healed all the way back to full HP with Oblivion Wing, which is crazy. I'm curious if this one-shots. Okay, it doesn't one-shot, but Landorus just wins the game with an Earthquake now, right? Actually, even a Snarl from Yveltal, although the problem with Snarl is that it's not 100% win condition, because it can miss, right? They go for Behemoth Bash. Who's that target? You would think it would target Landorus, right? But I don't think that one-shots. This thing's a lot weaker than Zacian. Oh, they actually target Yveltal, okay. Sucker Punch plus Bash. I guess if I don't go for healing there, yeah, that gets the KO. But we can just Airstream and Oblivion Wing here. And that should be GG. Yeah. Not bad. Not bad. Zamazenta was scary, but, like, this is an example of how you have to sometimes create a really specific game plan to deal with something that you might not have a good matchup against, because AV Thundurus is really tricky, right? Because there's a dual Intimidate on this team, but you're just going to activate Defiant. It outspeeds almost everything on this team, bar Aleki, but because Aleki can Electro Web, you just have to put yourself in a position to try to outspeed it afterwards. So that's basically what we were able to accomplish. So I'm glad, like, this was a good example of how, like, sometimes you might run into one Pokemon that can be tough, but a well-constructed team typically will be able to create a game plan to deal with it. You just have to find that game plan, right? Whereas if we're not going against Assault Vest Thundurus, it's a lot easier to just deal with a lot of, like, you can play a lot more loosely, right? You don't have to specifically do one move in these 2 turns and like, plan out the first 3 turns of the game. But it's important to note that sometimes people feel like it's unwinnable, like matchups are unwinnable, but that might be the case if your opponent plays perfectly, but it's very hard to play perfectly in the game. So, like, and you can utilize, like, the fact that you can tell that Thundurus was Assault Vest, for example, means that they can't protect. So if I keep dropping their speed, as soon as they didn't max Airstream, it means that once we get Landorus in, we can just pick up a guaranteed KO. And because they picked up a double KO, we got a better position with Yveltal and Landorus. So, yeah. Alright. Looking for our last match here. Definitely a better day for Yveltal today. I think, like, it was actually very, very critical to the victories. But that's the thing about Series 8, right? I think the best restricted Pokemon can match up well against pretty much anything on the board. But there are, I guess, when I think of the best, I mean, Yveltal's definitely up there, but it does, like, I'm thinking, like, Zacian, maybe Groudon, Kyogre, although Groudon, I think, is a lot more volatile. Another Blastoise. There is a Zacian this time around, but there's no Lapras at least. no Thundurus, but there's a Zapdos. So the good thing, though, it means that I can bring my Intimidators way more freely, right? Because I don't have to worry about activating a Defiant. That's a really big deal. Sacred Sword just makes Registeel very sad. Zacian's the main threat. I think Aleki with Electro Web is going to be very important for speed control here, but I have to deal with Grimmsnarl. Yveltal is awful against Zacian and Zapdos, and those are probably going to be the primary options on my opponent's team. Grimmsnarl Zapdos, I think, is definitely a likely lead. So, I don't know. Aleki plus Landorus, I think, is fine here. I don't feel great about Registeel in a matchup with Rotom-H and Zacian, so I think we'll leave that on the bench. So I'll have Arcanine in the back, and then it's Feeny and Yveltal in the back. I mean, I think you could still make an argument for Yveltal. I don't think, like, Feeny or Registeel are strong enough to make me say, hey, let's drop Yveltal on the bench. But as you'll notice, as we play through Series 8, sometimes you have to be willing to leave your restricted Pokemon on the bench if you feel like it offers absolutely nothing. Because we're Assault Vested here and most of my opponent's Pokemon are special, and because they have Grimmsnarl, which is often going to use Fake Tears on a team comp like this, you know, this is very conditional. I was going to say if you can check the Zacian, then Yveltal actually becomes a very strong max option. However, that's not very... It sounds so easy, right? But max Yveltal is such a big problem. Zacian, like, you're not going to be able to put yourself in a position to max Yveltal often because Zacian's going to be on the field, right? And often to deal with Zacian, I'll probably have to max something else. But they're going to go with Blastoise plus the Zacian. And this is where the idea of Dynamaxing Regieleki, I think, is actually very fascinating to me, and I'm very heavily considering it. You might be like, why the heck would you do that? But let's look at, like, the board, right? In this position, Blastoise, I think, often is going to want to click Fake Out into the Eleki slot. Now, I don't think Max Lightning one-shots Zacian, but I don't need it to one-shot. The main question I have to ask is, who is my opponent going to Dynamax after I see it? Rotom-H, Zapdos. Huh, Yveltal is still kind of bad against both of those. I can one-shot Blastoise. I don't really need to, though. I think, like, Landorus going out into Arcanine and then Max Lightning into Zacian feels like a really strong play here. Maybe my opponent covers for that option, but covering for a Max Eleki option, like, typically, like, players don't expect this very much, right? My only fear here is, I don't know, if you're, like, Choice Scarf Blastoise with Water Spout, that would crush me. Which would be frustrating, because I don't think that actually outspeeds Eleki, so it's like, if it were a Scarf Blastoise with Water Spout, I could just Electro Web, Quake turn 1, and now it's like a game-winning play. So, I think anytime you Dynamax Eleki, it's a very high-risk, very high-reward play. Now, in this position, it doesn't actually feel super high-risk, because I don't think I'm going to get KO'd on Eleki specifically. And even getting 2 Max Lightnings off in a matchup like this is not bad, because my opponent doesn't have, like, that many great electric resists, per se, right? So, it feels okay here, but I don't think it one-shots Zacian, which is why it doesn't feel, like, incredible. It'd actually be fine if Zacian, like, protected here. Oh, they max Blastoise! That is fascinating to me. Wow. Okay. So they didn't go for Fake Out. That's fine, although I'll get a little frustrated. But if you max Blastoise, like, AV Yveltal is pretty good into a max Blastoise here. So I don't mind it that much. The problem is, I don't think this one-shots. It does not, yeah. But we do have Electric Terrain up now, so I have a Max Lightning into Blastoise unless they double up onto the Eleki here, which, if so, kudos to them, because that's a great find. Okay, so it's Blade. Who's that targeting? Look like Arcanine. Okay, good. So Arcanine's a great switch in there, right? We get an Intimidate off, and we resist, but Cannonade's definitely coming out here. Curious, I think the Lando double up here makes a lot of sense to me, right? But if it actually is a double up, oh no, they actually targeted Eleki. Okay. Big question here. Do you have Protect on that Blastoise? Because I so badly want to just Max Lightning it, and I'm not sure it is going to have Protect. Like, I could just Max Lightning Flamethrower here, and that's the play I lean towards in this position. I could have protected Eleki as well. Okay, Zacian protects, nice. That's great regardless, because... Oh, it's Wakanberry. Wow. Wow. Okay. That is definitely a little bit of a bummer. So interesting to see, like, Blastoise so used as much as it is right now. Wow. I was not expecting that. So I think the Eleki feigns here. Yeah. Max Guard Snarl could have worked there. Max Guard Flamethrower does bypass the turn of their Dynamax. I guess it's probably better to max, but the thing is my Arcanine just isn't doing much here. I could just bring out Landorus though, right? Actually, if I just bring out Landorus and switch Arcanine out into... Well, I don't think Life Orb Earthquake's a KO, so I'm not sure about that. Nah, there's no way it's a KO. Why don't I just Protect here, though, and Flamethrower? That actually seems okay to me, yeah. You can't substitute with Zacian. I don't think that's in sub-range. It looks like 24%. Maybe it's exactly in range of sub, but it looks just under to me. Ah, that's a good switch. Into Grimmsnarl. Okay, so you can Fake Out with that thing next turn. Oh, Wakanberry Blastoise, man. That's like the one thing that would have countered the Dynamax Eleki in this game. I wonder if that's like a thing that's been trending up in the meta, because yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of people running Arcanine right now, which is really Blastoise right now. Like, we just played it in 2 of 3 games, which is really fascinating to me. Cannon damage just adds up so much. Whenever my opponent now, you can just fake out, maybe like Water Spout, and I already protected there. You should definitely fake out into Landorus, right? So I think we pretty much have to switch this out into Yveltal. But hey, this is finally a time to try Morning Sun. We haven't used that yet. And I think Landorus Arcanine plus Yveltal can definitely pull off this comeback. But one thing that is interesting, one trend today, is that we've often been playing from behind. And that's okay with me. You know, that's a part of the game. It lends to like different playstyles, right? Snarl will do more damage with Dark Aura, which would be interesting. Wow, Grimmsnarl didn't fake out. If I just switched Arcanine into Yveltal there and Earthquaked, like, that would have been sick. Hydro Cannon. Oh, wow. That's gonna KO, right? Very nicely done. And Spirit Break, I assume? Okay, they go for Foul Play. You know, that's actually not too bad. Because I can just heal everything back up. I can just Oblivion Wing Earthquake right now. But, man, does Sucker Punch KO Zacian from the range that it's at? And also, what is my opponent's last one going to be? Rotom-H, Zapdos, and was it Rillaboom that they had? So I'd probably want to see Rillaboom the most because Yveltal completely walls that. Yeah, I think it's just Oblivion Wing here and EQ. Foul Play as well is very interesting. But this is a game, like, that's the risk of Dynamaxing a Lucky, right? It is trick. I could have protected there. Because I think now it's going to be Full Incense. Or Lagging Tail, yeah, same stuff. Which is fine for now. I mean, the big question is basically, can I KO Zacian with a Sucker Punch? Grimmsnarl hanging on here would actually be fine, I think. I didn't have any way around this, right? Like, let's say I just protect. It doesn't really get us anywhere anyway. Okay, Earthquake does pick up a double KO. But I think this time around we've fallen a little bit too behind. I could have just gone Max Lightning onto Blastoise turn 1. That would have been a huge play, actually, because then another Max Lightning KOs. But when I looked at my opponent's team, Blastoise did not scream as the #1 Dynamax option. You know, they have Rotom. That will probably win them the game. Although not necessarily, actually. I mean, the question is whether or not a Sucker Punch... there's no way a KO Zacian from this range, right? There's no way. If it does, though, we could crit Sucker Punch, for example, KO Zacian, protect Landorus, and then play a 2v1 with Yveltal plus Landorus against Rotom-H. And then we have Snarl, right? So we actually don't do too bad in that trade-off. Okay, they don't protect Zacian. But it's not enough. I don't even think a crit would have been enough there. Okay, I mean, that was a really close game, so I can't feel too bad about that. It is just funny, though, because I think, yeah, if I just Electro Web Max Quake turn 1, we would have been in a phenomenal position. I want to go on Picolytics after this game and check the Blastoise usage, because it's so interesting that, like, it can't be a coincidence we're running into as many as we are, right? So, let's see. Picolytics, Blastoise. Is there even usage for this thing? 1.49%. Most common items. On Showdown, Wakandberry is not even in the top, like, 95%. Like, it's not even listed as an item. Now let's look at on Battle Stadium. It's all just Life Orb. There's so little data for it on Battle Stadium, because very few people will use it. So that's really interesting. Yeah. That's a loss I don't mind taking. Like, very interesting. Good execution. We had a good lead, so, like, if I knew my opponent had Wakandberry, I'd definitely play differently, but I think I just needed to respect the option of Blastoise maxing more. I like, went for, like, a go big. It wasn't even a go big or go home play. It was, like, a go big, or and, like, But the problem, I guess, is, yeah, the fact I only got 2 turns to max was bad, and I did think protecting with Gieleki turn 2 was definitely a good play, because it covers for Blastoise protecting. Protect Flamethrower there works, because even if you KO Arcanine, I get a free switch into Landorus. Yeah, and then I can just max Lightning and, like, maybe Earthquake in that position. So, I think max guarding turn 2 is the play here with the Gieleki. But, yeah, really interesting set of games. Either way, that's going to be it for this one. So, thanks as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you all next time. All right, peace.